Welcome to the Performance Reporting Entry Portal, or PREP, virtual training session, Responsibilities of an RMO. This training is focused on making sure you, as an RMO from OMB, understand your roles and responsibilities. By the end of this training, you will be able to enter PREP and review Agency Priority Goals, or APGs, which is required each quarter prior to site publication. To view the submission and review schedule, simply log into PREP using your Max.gov account login information. You will find a calendar of important dates on the PREP homepage dashboard. Any questions should be directed to the Office of Performance and Personnel Management or the Performance Improvement Council. On January 4, 2011, President Obama signed the Government Performance and Results Modernization Act of 2010. The Act modernized the federal government's performance management framework, retaining the foundation of the original Government Performance and Results Act of 1993, which required a strategic plan and annual performance plan, but added clear expectations for OMB and agency leaders to personally engage in improving results by owning a limited number of priority goals and leading frequent progress reviews. Performance.gov was developed as a window to the administration's efforts to deliver a more effective, smarter, and leaner government. The site gives the public, agencies, members of Congress, and the media a view of progress underway in cutting waste, streamlining government, and improving performance. PREP is a web-based platform that allows agencies to enter and manage performance information that then allows OMB to review prior to being published on the Performance.gov site. What information is collected in PREP? General agency information, including mission, overview, and any measures or strategic objectives that the agency may have, strategic plans, and agency priority goals and indicators. Today's session will address the following questions. What are my responsibilities as an RMO? How do I review and approve agency priority goals, or APGs? How do I access the workflow? What actions can I take? How do I compare or share changes from the last submission? How do I preview how the new information will look on Performance.gov? How do I build a report? And finally, is there a PREP user guide? As an RMO, it is your responsibility to review and clear agency performance data and information before it is published on the Performance.gov website. OMB review is critical to the quality and accuracy of agency information and its alignment with administrative policy before it becomes available for public consumption. While RMOs are responsible for reviewing agency information before it is published to Performance.gov, this tutorial will focus on demonstrating how to review agency priority goals, compare changes from previous submissions and reviews, and create reports to allow for easier review of agency information. How do I review and approve APGs? Agency Priority Goals, or APGs, are goals that target areas where agency leaders want to achieve near-term performance improvement through focused senior leadership attention. APGs advance progress toward longer-term, outcome-focused goals in the agency's strategic plan, and given their near-term focus on results or achievements that leadership wants to accomplish within approximately 24 months, APGs rely predominantly on agency implementation, as opposed to budget or legislative accomplishments. APGs require progress updates on a quarterly basis with OMB and RMO review prior to publication. When an agency editor reviews and updates his or her APG progress updates in PREP, they use the workflow to change the status from draft to in queue for publication. Once the workflow is updated, you will be able to view the APGs on your PREP dashboard. If you cannot find APGs on your dashboard, this means APG workflow status has not been changed to in queue for quarterly publication by the agency editor. Communication with your agency editor at this time is very important, as agency editors are able to change the workflow status from published to draft, draft to in queue, and in queue back to draft. Agency editors are advised to communicate with you, the RMO, if and when they need to make additional updates to their APGs to avoid disruption in your review. To view all APGs and other agency elements ready for your review, navigate to the In Queue for Publication button along the primary prep toolbar. Hovering over the button will display your search options. Clicking on the button will allow you to make your selection on the next screen. Clicking on one of the options will display all the agency items ready for your review. For this example, clicking on the FY16 to 17 APGs brings me to a list of APGs available for review. If you click on the title of the APG you would like to review, it will bring you to the APG page. This will display the details of the APG, specifically the progress updates for that quarter. If the updates are accurate, please communicate with the PIC to advise that the APG is ready for publication. If the APG requires additional updates, please communicate with your agency editor, who will change the workflow status to draft and update accordingly. If you go back to the list of available APGs for review, under the Action column, you will see a W. The W allows you to view the workflow. When you access the workflow, it will display the current workflow status and workflow history within that element. This can also be accessed for reviewing any of the agency's elements. This is where you can change the workflow status to under OMB review. Sometimes this is used to confirm information or hold information in place for further review. For the purposes of the quarterly APG updates, once you have reviewed and approved the information, you do not have action to change the workflow status. You may coordinate with the PIC to confirm the information is ready for publication. Also, under the Action column, on your list of available APGs for review, you'll see an H. The H allows you to block publication of that APG and all associated indicators. It will bring you to the publication control page. This action allows you to block and unblock all content from transitioning to the published workflow status. This can be used for sensitive or highly visible APGs or indicators that require higher level approval before publication, or for instances where progress updates require further review. You as the RMO have the capability to block information from being published. If you have any questions about when to use the publication control, please contact your PIC POC or prep support at gsa.gov. How do I compare or show changes from the last submission? To compare the changes from the previous quarter submission, click on the Compare Changes icon along the top toolbar in Prep. This will display a list of all changes made with associated dates and users and allow you to select which changes to compare. It can be the original publication to the current publication or variations of recent updates. Simply select which changes you want to compare and click Compare at the top of the column. At the top of the page, you will find color-coded legends depicting which text has been revised, added, most recently published, and most recently removed. To show changes to the most recently published data, click Show Changes along the secondary toolbar. The same color-coded legend will appear and depict which content has changed since the previous publication. To review the changes in context, you can click Show Unchanged Content, which will provide all of the information for that particular APG. How do I preview how the new information will look on Performance.gov? Before approving the updated content, you can view how the information will look once it is published on Performance.gov by clicking on Preview. This will display the information as it will look once it is published and public-facing. How do I build a report? If you would like to print the APG information to review in a Microsoft Word document with track changes or similar, click on the Report Builder icon. This will allow you to choose which APG and which element or elements of that APG you would like to review. Once you've selected the appropriate elements, Prep will download a Microsoft Word document with only the elements chosen. If significant changes are required for the APG, this is a simple, clear way to relay feedback to the agency editor using track changes or comments within the Word document. So I will select Submitted Data, Fiscal Year FY16 and 17. Any of the available strategic goals, strategic objectives, which are associated and applicable to the agencies that you've selected above, and any of the associated indicators and indicator instances. These arrows in the middle will pull all of the available options over. And if you download to Word, so here's the Word document, and you're able to go through and review the elements that you downloaded, and then use track changes accordingly to provide additional feedback. Lastly, is there a Prep User Guide? For more information or to access the Prep User Guide, look for the green book icon at the top right side of your screen. Clicking this icon will download the Prep User Guide, updated consistently with new updates to the system. Remember, for technical questions such as accessibility and system issues, please email prepsupport@gsa.gov. For all policy or process-related questions, please contact Lauren Stalker or Adam Lipton. Thank you for joining this tutorial.